Welcome to Inside the Music with Andy Schwartman. Here's your host, Andy Schwartman. Take it away, buddy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Inside the Music with Andy Schwartman. I'm your host, Andy Schwartman. Today we have a special guest. I have known this guy for a few years, I guess. His name is Matt Schlasinger.
Schlasinger.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Who is a member of the band Patsy.
We should have covered that in the production meeting before the show.
Yeah, but that's okay. You're good. Anyway, who is a member of the band Patsy, and yeah, so that's who our special guest is today. So thank you for being on the show, Matt.
Thank you for having me, Andy.
You are so welcome, dude.
I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy you guys are doing this.
Yes.
This is really cool, and I was really stoked when Rick reached out, and I'm ready, man. I'm happy.
Awesome. And I should preference this by saying to the viewers that we have known the way that we know each other is the way that Rick and you and I know each other is we all worked at Everybody's Records together.
We did.
So that's how we all know each other. Ironically.
Glory days.
The glory of the days.
Exactly. So that's how we know each other. It sounds silly, but it's the truth.
Nah, it's cool. Meet
Yes.
some of the best people that way.
Amen. So, but yeah, welcome to the show, and thank you for being on the show, Matt.
Of course. Thank you again for having me.
You are so welcome, dude. I have some questions here, and then
I have some answers.
okay. That's funny. The first one is, I understand your band Patsy just celebrated your 5th anniversary. How did you guys get started, and what has your first 5 years as a band been like?
Patsy started, well, unfortunately, the celebration was kind of non-existent this year.
Yeah.
Which really ties into how it started. Our first show was April 18th, I believe, and it was Record Store Day at Everybody's Records.
Nice.
And our 5-year anniversary kind of celebration show was supposed to be, again, to the date, and it couldn't have, if it would have worked, it couldn't have worked out better. But, with the current pandemic and everything, Record Store Day got split up into 3 days later in the year. So the store wasn't even open. Even if they were, we probably wouldn't have done a show. Just trying to, it's tough to social distance that way.
No kidding.
But as far as how we got started, Patsy started with me and the drummer at the time. His name was Brian Beck.
Okay.
Which, if I can, on a side note here, Brian Beck is an amazing artist, and he's doing really great things in the art world. So check him out on the social media, Brian Beck, B-E-C-K.
Okay.
But me and him I was actually still drinking when Patsy started. So me and him were good drinking buddies. And he was a drummer. I had always been a drummer in various punk bands since I was 14 years old. Okay. And wanted to kind of get out from behind the set and kind of wrote a little bit and stuff like that. And wanted to start a band, front a band. I wanted to try to sing.
Kind of like Steven Tyler with Aerosmith.
Yeah. So Brian and I decided we're going to go ahead and start a band, and I started writing a little bit. There was a bass player in some a couple of bands. One in particular was called Thought Suppression.
Mhm.
And his name was Jeff Dawson. He was a
Okay.
bass player in that band. Jeff moved to, I believe, Atlanta for the
Wow.
longest time.
Okay. All right.
And it really it was neat how it all worked out. After me and Brian decided, let's start a band, let's find some other guys. I was at a show in Northside at a bar called The Comet. And
I've
there
heard
was,
of that place. Yeah.
yeah. And Jeff was there.
Mhm.
Like, where the hell you been? And he,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And I got to talking to him, and we have very similar interests in music and ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had a feeling it could work,
Yeah.
So I asked Jeff, are you sticking around for a while? You here for, for good for a while? Yes. And asked if he wanted to start this band with me and Brian. And we said, for sure. So I met Brian the following weekend at a bar in Newport called Huddles.
Okay.
And we sat there and we got Jeff. We're good. This is a Saturday afternoon. And I texted my little brother, Mike Schlasinger, who is just a badass guitar player. And
Nice.
he really didn't have a choice. I just texted Mike and said, band practice is Tuesday at 6 o'clock. I'll see you then.
Yeah.
And I sent him an address and he showed up. So
Nice.
it worked out.
This is true, by the way. I want to interject. Mike is an incredible guitar player.
Unreal. He is. I couldn't have had anybody there. It was the first choice. That's why he didn't have a choice. There wasn't
Exactly.
Mike, you're the guy, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got together, and I had written a few things, and we kind of tossed around some cover ideas, one of which was Sonic Reducer by the Dead Boys. So we all showed up with at least one song in the bag, and
Right.
just to figure out how we worked with each other and stuff like that.
Right.
And then we just kept writing and writing.
Nice. Okay. Now, is your brother still in the band, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as Brian, we ended up kind of parting ways musically, and
Darn.
my dad is now the drummer in Patsy.
I remember.
Yeah.
When that one time, I remember I was at everybody's once, and he had on a Stone Temple Pilots shirt, and of course I've heard their song Plush over 100 times.
Oh, absolutely.
I just remember thinking, right? Like, heck yeah, dude. I remember, bro. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I grew up in the early 90s, all right? So I remember hearing Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and, STP and stuff. And so it was like, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why, because he is in the same boat. I think all four of us are very similar in our music taste and stuff like that, and what we like, what we listen to and stuff. So
yeah.
As far as, it's always easy to kind of reference something anyway, and not so blatantly, like, not, and I use references in like to I don't want to say rip something off, but
no,
really draw from that, and like,
right, exactly.
This band and this song, and I kind of had something like this in mind as to where the direction of this song. So it works out with all of us having a very similar taste in music, which is really great. But we've all got our very our own taste in music and stuff like that too, that I think all combines. Like Jeff is very into funk and stuff like that, and my dad, Bob Schlasinger, is very into kind of jazz and fusion kind of stuff like that, and I came from punk bands, so we all kind of can draw from our differences and our similarities and
Mhm. Mhm.
make music, which is
which is
pretty cool.
awesome.
Andy, do you
Yes.
want to take a quick second to wrap up part one? When we come back
Yes.
with part two, we can have Matt tell us more about Patsy's history leading up to his recent solo record. You want to wrap up part one?
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Or thank you, Matt. And end of part one. There'll be a part two here shortly.
Cool. I'm ready.
Thank you, Matt.
Of course. Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome, dude.
Thanks for being with us, Matt. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Andy, good job getting that Aerosmith trivia in there. Steven Tyler was originally a drummer, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
You had to get that in
Yes,
there.
he was.
All right, we'll
I
see
had
you
to-
guys.
I'm sorry, I had to get that in there.
right.
I'm sorry.
See you guys on part two. See you on part two. Thanks, everybody.